Jack Miller felt the space station shake under his feet. This was not part of the plan. The meeting with the Galactic Concord was supposed to be simple. As Earth's diplomat, his job was to make friends, not deal with attacks. All humans must report to Docking Bay 7 for emergency evacuation, said a calm voice over the speakers. The message repeated in 5 alien languages. Jack ran down the curved hallway of Horizon 9. Red lights flashed along the walls. Aliens of all shapes and sizes pushed past him, some with 4 arms, others with scaly skin. Many gave him strange looks. Humans were still new to space travel, and not everyone trusted the Deathworlders from Earth. "Ambassador Miller, this way," called Sam, his security officer. Sam waved from an intersection ahead. Another explosion rocked the station. The lights flickered off, then back on. Jack stumbled but kept his balance. Growing up on Earth's heavy, gravity gave him advantages here. "What's happening?" Jack asked when he reached Sam. "Vraxians," Sam said, checking his tablet. "They attacked without warning. The Concord delegates are already boarding their ships." A tall, blue-skinned alien, in flowing robes, approached them. It was Ambassador Zrel from the Eridani delegation. "Human friends," Zrel said, voice trembling. "The Vraxians have deployed Nexus-class war machines. You must leave now." "What are Nexus war machines?" Jack asked. "The most advanced weapons in the galaxy," Zrel replied. 12 feet tall, nearly indestructible, they are designed to take control of space stations. Another explosion closer this time. The floor panel beside them burst upward. Sam was thrown against the wall and fell, not moving. "Sam!" Jack rushed to his side. Blood soaked through Sam's uniform. He wasn't breathing. "We must go," urged Zrel, pulling at Jack's arm. "Your Earthship leaves in minutes." Jack reluctantly left Sam and followed Zrel through the twisting corridors. The station groaned around them. Pieces of ceiling fell as they ran. "There." Zrel pointed to a transport tube ahead. "This will take us to your docking bay." As they approached, the station rocked with the biggest explosion yet. The transport tube's doors warped and jammed half open. Beyond them, Jack could see the tube had collapsed. "Is there another way?" Jack asked. Zrel's face turned a darker blue. "Yes, but it is longer. We may not—" The alien's words were cut short by a mechanical sound from behind. Jack turned to see something massive moving through the smoke-filled corridor. Metal feet clanked against the floor. Red sensors glowed in the haze. "War machine," whispered Zrel. "We must hide." They ducked into a small maintenance room. Through a crack in the door, Jack watched as the Nexus war machine stomped past. It was tall and powerful, with weapons built into its arms and shoulders. Its metal body gleamed even in the dim emergency lighting. Jack's communicator beeped. "Ambassador Miller, this is Captain Harris. We can't wait any longer. The station's shields are failing." "I'm still in Section C," Jack replied quietly. "Transport tube is down." "I'm sorry, sir. Vraxian ships are approaching. We have the rest of the delegation aboard. We must launch now or risk everyone." Jack looked at the terrified Zrel, then at the damaged station around them. "Understood, Captain. Get our people to safety." "Sir, we'll send help as soon as—" The communication cut off. Jack checked his belt. No weapon. Diplomats weren't allowed to carry them on Horizon 9. He was stranded on a failing space station with aliens who still called humans dangerous primitives, and at least one deadly war machine hunting survivors. "Your ship left you?" Zrel asked, eyes wide. "They had to," Jack said. "Now we need a plan." The war machine passed by again, closer this time. Its heavy steps echoed through the walls. Jack's mind raced. He knew humans had one advantage. Earth was a harsh planet that made its people tough in ways aliens didn't understand. The machine paused outside their hiding spot, its sensors scanning. Jack held his breath. He might not have weapons, but he had something the Vraxians didn't expect. A lifetime of surviving on a death world. And that might be enough. Image description for Leonardo AI. A tall, menacing robotic war machine with glowing red sensors and built-in weapon stocks through a damaged space station corridor. Emergency red lights flash in the smoky hallway. In the foreground, partially hidden behind debris, a human man in a diplomatic uniform and a blue-skinned alien with flowing robes watch in terror as the machine approaches. The scene captures the contrast between the imposing war machine and the vulnerable figures hiding from it. The war machine moved past their hiding spot. Jack and Zrel waited until its heavy steps faded down the corridor. "We need to find a safer place," Jack whispered. "This room is too exposed." Zrel nodded. "The maintenance tunnels might be safe. Few know about them." They slipped out of the room and moved in the opposite direction from the war machine. Emergency lights cast long shadows as they hurried through the damaged station. Broken pipes hissed steam into the air. "This way," Zrel said, pointing to a small hatch in the wall. The hatch led to a narrow tunnel. Jack had to crouch to fit inside. Zrel, being taller and thinner, struggled even more. "These tunnels connect all parts of the station," Zrel explained as they crawled. "Maintenance workers use them to fix systems without disturbing guests." The tunnel opened into a small junction room with several pathways branching off. Control panels blinked on the walls. Zrel moved to one and began pressing buttons. "I am checking the station's status," the alien said. "It is worse than I feared. Life support is failing in many sections." Jack looked at the alien's worried face. "How many people are still on the station?" "Perhaps 50, Zrel replied. "Most escaped, but some were cut off from their ships." Loud crash from one of the tunnels made them both turn. A small figure tumbled into the room covered in dust. Jack moved quickly, catching the falling alien before it hit the floor. It was not Zrel's species, but smaller, with pale green skin and large blinking eyes. "Please don't hurt me," the small alien cried, trembling in Jack's arms. "It's okay," Jack said, helping the alien stand. "We're not going to hurt you." "You're human," the alien said, staring at Jack. "I'm Jack Miller. This is Ambassador Zrel." The green alien hesitated before speaking. "I'm Lyra. I work in engineering." "How did you avoid evacuation?" Zrel asked. "I was fixing a power relay when the attack started," Lyra explained. "The tunnels to my section collapsed. I've been trying to find a way out." Jack noticed Lyra kept a safe distance from him once she stood on her own. "You're afraid of me," he said. Lyra looked down. "I've heard stories about humans, Deathworlders. They say your planet is full of dangers and you are dangerous too." Jack smiled. "Earth is tough, that's true. High gravity, extreme weather, lots of predators. But that just made us adaptable, not dangerous." Before Lyra could respond, the junction room shook violently. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Jack moved without thinking, pushing Lyra out of the way as metal beams crashed down. When the dust cleared, Lyra stared at Jack with wide eyes. "You saved me." "Of course," Jack said, checking her for injuries. "Are you okay?" Lyra nodded slowly, her fear of the human visibly fading. Zrel, who had taken cover near a wall, pointed to a screen. "Look." The screen showed the station's main command center. Several Vraxian soldiers stood guard while their commander spoke to a hologram. Behind them stood the largest war machine Jack had seen yet. "That is the Nexus Prime," Zrel whispered. "Their most advanced model." The camera zoomed in as the Vraxian commander pointed to the massive machine. It was at least 15 feet tall, with more weapons and thicker armor than the one they had seen earlier. "The commander is saying they will use the station as a forward," Basin, Lyra translated, listening to the audio. "They plan to attack human colonies next." "When?" Jack asked. "Their reinforcements arrive in 48 hours, Lyra said. "Then they move against your people." Jack studied the war machine on the screen. Its metal body gleamed under the command center lights. It looked unstoppable. "We need to warn Earth," Jack said. "Is there any way to send a message?" Lyra thought. For a moment. "Maybe from the secondary communications array, but it's near the command center, past the Nexus Prime. Then we need a plan," Jack said, his mind already working. He watched the war machine's movements, looking for patterns, for weaknesses. "What can we do against that?" Zrel asked, pointing at the massive Nexus Prime. Jack smiled grimly. They built that machine to fight enemies with weapons. But they've never fought a human who grew up on Earth. We have advantages they don't understand. Lyra and Zrel exchanged doubtful looks as Jack continued to study the screen, his eyes never leaving the war machine. Image description for Leonardo AI. In a dimly lit maintenance junction room with blinking control panels and exposed pipes, 3 figures gather around a glowing screen. A human man in a torn diplomatic uniform points at the screen, which displays a massive, heavily armed war machine in the station's command center. Beside him, a tall, blue-skinned alien in damaged robes and a small green alien with large eyes look on with a mixture of fear and wonder. Emergency lights cast dramatic red shadows across their faces as they plan their resistance against the overwhelming force shown on the monitor. Jack studied the war machine on the screen for a long time. Lyra and Zrel watched him with curious eyes. "What are you looking for?" Lyra asked finally. "Patterns," Jack replied. "Everything has a weakness. We just need to find it." Lyra moved to a different control panel. "I can access the station database from here. Maybe we can learn more about the Nexus Prime." Her small green fingers moved quickly over the controls. The screen changed to show technical information about Vraxian war machines. "The Nexus Prime uses an advanced AI system," Lyra explained. "It can predict combat moves and counter any known weapon." "Any known weapon," Jack repeated slowly. "But it's never fought someone from Earth before, has it?" Zrel shook his head. "Humans are new to space. The Vraxians designed their machines to fight other galactic species." Jack smiled. "That might be our advantage." Lyra continued reading. "The war machine's outer shell is nearly impossible to damage. It's made of trialloy composite." "What about its systems?" Jack asked. "Does it have vulnerabilities to environmental factors?" Lyra looked surprised by the question. "Let me check." She searched through more data. "Yes, actually, the Nexus models were designed for standard station environments. Extreme conditions might affect its sensors." Suddenly, the room tilted. Jack grabbed a pipe to keep his balance. Zrel fell against the wall, while Lyra held onto the control panel. "What was that?" Jack asked when the movement stopped. "The artificial gravity is failing," Lyra said, checking readings. "The attack damaged the gravity generators. Some sections will have variable gravity now." Jack thought about this. "On Earth, we live with full gravity all the time. Our muscles are stronger than most aliens. This could help us." He demonstrated by easily pulling himself up to examine a ceiling panel, using just his arm strength. Lyra and Zrel watched with wide eyes. "Your physical abilities are impressive," Zrel admitted. "But the war machine is still much stronger." "Sometimes, strength isn't everything," Jack said. "Sometimes you need to be smart about how you use the environment." Lyra's console beeped with an incoming message. A Vraxian face appeared on the screen. Jack quickly pulled Lyra away before they could be seen. "Attention all station occupants," the Vraxian announced. "This is Commander Krell. Horizon 9 is now under Vraxian control. It will serve as our forward base for operations against human territories. Surrender now and you will be treated as prisoners of war. Resist and you will be eliminated." The message repeated, then ended. "They're going to attack Earth," Jack said, his face grim. "We have 48 hours to stop them." "But how?" Lyra asked. "We're just 3 people against an army and war machines." Jack began pacing the small room. "The Nexus Prime is their key advantage. If we can disable it, we might create enough confusion to send a warning to Earth." Lyra looked doubtful. "The Nexus Prime has perfect targeting systems and weapons that can melt through station walls. We have no weapons at all." "We have the station itself," Jack said. "You said the gravity is failing in sections? What other systems are damaged?" Lyra checked the control panel again. "Life support is operating at 60%. Environmental controls are unbalanced. Some areas are very hot, others very cold. And the war machine wasn't designed for those conditions," Jack said, his mind working quickly. Lyra nodded slowly. "The Nexus models need to maintain certain operating temperatures. They have cooling systems that vent excess heat." "Cooling vents?" Jack asked, suddenly interested. "How often do they need to vent?" Every 20 minutes of continuous operation, Lyra said. The vents open for about 30 seconds. That's our window, Jack said. Zrel looked confused. Window for what? We still have no weapons. I grew up on Earth, Jack explained. Our gravity is higher than standard. Our atmosphere is thicker. Our temperature ranges are wider. My body can handle conditions that would stress a war machine. Lyra began to understand. You want to use the station's environmental systems against the Nexus. Prime? Jack nodded. We change the environment to something it wasn't designed for. When it tries to adapt, we strike at those cooling vents. With what weapons? Zrel asked again. Jack tapped his head, then his muscles. With human ingenuity and human strength. Sometimes the best weapon isn't a weapon at all. Lyra and Zrel exchanged looks. They still had doubts, but Jack's confidence was beginning to convince them it might be possible. As they talked, the station shook again. The lights flickered. Their time was running out. Image description for Leonardo AI. In a damaged space station. Maintenance room bathed in blue emergency lighting. A determined human man in a torn uniform is demonstrating his Earth-born strength by easily hanging from ceiling pipes with one arm. Below him, a small green alien with large eyes works at a control panel displaying technical schematics of a massive war machine with highlighted cooling vents. A tall blue alien watches in amazement at the human's physical prowess. The room shows signs of damage, sparking wires, tilted floor panels suggesting gravity failure and condensation forming on walls. Screens in the background show various sections of the station with environmental readings in the red zone. News of a human moving through the station spread quickly. While Jack, Lyra, and Zrel planned in the maintenance room, other aliens who had not escaped began to whisper about the Deathworlder. I heard there's a human fighting the Vraxians, said a voice from one of the tunnels. Jack turned quickly. A tall, four-armed alien stepped into the room. Its skin was purple, and it wore a security uniform. Who are you? Jack asked, moving in front of Lyra protectively. My name is Zev, the alien said. I was station security before the attack. I've been looking for survivors. Zev was not alone. Two more aliens appeared behind him. One was huge, with rocky skin. The other was tiny with shiny silver hair. This is Kral, Zev said, pointing to the big one. He works in maintenance, and this is Neri, from data analysis. We heard talk of resistance. Kral rumbled in a deep voice. We want to help. Jack looked at the group. They were scared but determined. We're planning to disable the Nexus Prime war machine, he told them. We brought weapons, Neri said. The tiny alien pulled out what looked like a laser cutter and some tools. Jack shook his head. No weapons. The Nexus Prime can detect energy. Signatures from all known weapons, it would spot us immediately. The aliens looked confused. Zev stepped forward. Then how will you fight it? I'm not going to fight it, Jack explained. I'm going to use the station against it. Jack demonstrated his plan by climbing up a wall using just his hands and feet, then jumping across a gap that was wider than any of the aliens could manage. On Earth, we live with higher gravity than most planets. Our muscles are stronger, Jack explained. We can also withstand pressure changes and temperature extremes that would hurt most species. The aliens watched with wide eyes as Jack bent a piece of metal pipe with his bare hands. Remarkable, Neri whispered. The legends of Deathworlders are true. But even with your strength, Zev argued, the war machine is still more powerful. True, Jack agreed. But it wasn't designed to fight someone like me. It expects attacks from weapons, not from a human using the environment. Lyra showed the group the station schematics on her screen. The gravity is failing in sections C through F. Some areas have almost no gravity, while others have double the normal amount. I grew up in normal Earth gravity, which is already higher than standard, Jack said. I can handle the heavy sections better than any war machine. The environmental systems are also damaged, Zrel added. Some areas are very hot or very cold. Kral stepped forward. I can help with that. I know the hydroponics sector well. We could create a high humidity zone that might affect the machine's sensors. Neri's eyes lit up. I know a maintenance access point that leads to cooling systems, beneath the deck plates. You could move under the war machine without being detected. Jack smiled as the group began to work together. Their fear was turning into hope. The Nexus Prime must vent excess heat every 20 minutes, Lyra explained to everyone. When it does, the vents open for about 30 seconds. That's our window of opportunity. Zev looked skeptical. Even with all these advantages, what are the odds of success? Neri calculated quickly. Based on known specifications of the Nexus Prime and our current resources, 97.8% probability of failure. The room fell silent. Then Jack laughed. Those are better odds than I expected, he said cheerfully. Humans are used to facing bad odds. We actually do better when people tell us something is impossible. The aliens looked at him with a mixture of doubt and admiration. We need to move quickly, Jack continued. Lyra, can you track the war machine's movements? Lyra nodded and turned to her console. It patrols the main corridors on a regular schedule. I can predict where it will be. Just then, an alarm sounded. The screen showed a fleet of ships approaching the station. Vraxian reinforcements, Zrel said, his blue skin paling. They're ahead of schedule. How much time do we have? Jack asked. Less than 12 hours, Lyra replied, checking the data. Jack looked at the group. Then we need to start now. Are you with me? One by one, the aliens nodded. They were still afraid, but the humans' confidence was contagious. Let's show the Vraxians what a Deathworlder can do, Jack said with a grim smile. Image description for Leonardo AI. Inside a dimly lit space station maintenance room, a diverse group of aliens watches in awe as a human man performs a. The group gathered around Lyra's console as she displayed a map of the station. Everyone was quiet as Jack explained his plan. We need to lure the Nexus Prime to a specific location, Jack said, pointing to the hydroponics sector. Crawl, can you adjust the environmental controls there? The big rocky alien nodded. I can increase humidity and temperature. The systems are damaged, but I can override them manually. Good, Jack continued. High humidity will create condensation on surfaces. That might affect the machine's sensors and create slippery conditions. Neri stepped forward. I've studied the station blueprints. There's a maintenance tunnel that runs beneath the hydroponics floor plates. You could move under the war machine without being detected. Jack nodded. Perfect. Lyra, you said the Nexus Prime vents heat every 20 minutes, right? Yes, Lyra confirmed. The vents open for approximately 30 seconds. During that time, the machine is slightly more vulnerable. Zev crossed his forearms. And what will you do during those 30 seconds? Jack smiled. I'll climb up from below and block the cooling vents. If the machine can't release heat, its systems will start to fail. With what? Zrel asked. What will you use to block the vents? Jack looked around the room and picked up some broken metal panels. Station debris. Simple, but effective. The aliens exchanged doubtful looks. Your plan depends on many factors, Neri said. The machine's patrol route, the timing of the vents, your ability to move through the maintenance tunnel without detection, and your ability to climb onto a war machine without being killed, Zev added. Lyra calculated the odds. Again, even with all variables in our favor, success probability is only 2.2%. Jack wasn't discouraged. Then we'll make it work. Humans are good at beating the odds. The group spent the next hour preparing. Crawl and Jack collected materials they would need. Lyra continued to track the war machine's movements. Neri mapped the safest route to the hydroponics sector. The Nexus Prime will patrol the command section in 30 minutes, Lyra announced. Then it will move to the residential area before checking hydroponics. That gives us about an hour to get everything ready, Jack said. Zev approached Jack with a small object. This is a communication device. We can stay in contact while you're in the tunnels. Jack attached it to his ear. Thanks. Now let's go over the timing once more. He walked through each step of the plan carefully. Zev would create a distraction in the command sector to keep most Vraxians busy. Crawl would modify the hydroponic section to create the environmental conditions they needed. Neri would guide Jack through the maintenance tunnels. Lyra would monitor the war machine's systems, and alert Jack when the cooling vents were about to open. Zrel would help coordinate everyone's movements. "Any questions?" Jack asked when he finished. "Just one," Zev said. "What if you fail?" Jack's face grew serious. "Then you need to find another way to warn Earth. The Vraxians can't be allowed to use this station as a base for attacks on human colonies." The group fell silent, understanding the importance of their mission. "It's time," Lyra said, checking her console. "The war machine is moving into position." Jack took a deep breath. "All right, Zev, get to the command sector. Crawl. Start on the environmental systems. Neri, show me the entrance to the maintenance tunnels." As they prepared to separate, Lyra stopped Jack. "The humans I heard about in stories were always violent and dangerous, but you're risking your life to save us all." Jack smiled. "Not all stories tell the whole truth. Humans can be tough when we need to be, but we also protect those who need help. That's the part the stories often leave out." Zrel stepped forward. "We will tell new stories, after today. Stories of the human who faced a war machine with no weapons. Let's make sure it's a story with a happy ending," Jack said as he followed Neri toward the tunnel entrance. The countdown had begun. They had less than an hour to set their trap for the most advanced war machine in the galaxy. Image description. For Leonardo AI. In a dimly lit station control room, a human man in a torn uniform stands at the center of a holographic 3D map of a space station with glowing red dots showing enemy positions. He points confidently to a specific section while 5 diverse aliens look on with a mixture of hope and doubt. A massive rocky-skinned alien adjusts environmental controls on a wall panel, creating visible steam. A small alien with silver hair holds up detailed blueprints. A green-skinned engineer works frantically at a console displaying the war machine's heat signature, while a 4-armed purple security officer checks weapons. The blue diplomat studies the human's face with newfound respect. Emergency lights flicker overhead, and through a viewport, a Vraxian fleet approaches the damaged station. The plan was set in motion. Zev moved quickly through the station corridors, toward the command sector. His 4 arms carried pieces of equipment that would create the perfect distraction. "In position," Zev's voice came through Jack's communication device. "Ready when you are." Jack had followed Neri to a small maintenance hatch. It led to narrow tunnels beneath the station's floor plates. "These tunnels connect all sections," Neri explained. "Follow this path to reach hydroponics." The small alien pointed to marks on a portable screen. "I'll guide you from the control room." Jack nodded and squeezed into the tight space. It was a difficult fit for his human frame. Most station maintenance workers were smaller species like Neri. "Crawl status report," Jack whispered into his communicator as he crawled. "Environmental controls modified," Crawl's deep voice replied. "Humidity at 95%, temperature at 40 degrees Celsius, condensation forming on all surfaces." "Perfect," Jack said. He continued moving through the narrow tunnel, the metal debris he had collected clanking against his leg. Back in the control room, Lyra monitored the war machine's movements. "The Nexus Prime has finished its command sector patrol. It's moving toward residential now. Zev, start the distraction in 3 minutes." "Understood," Zev replied. Jack reached a junction in the tunnels. "Which way, Neri?" "Left tunnel," Neri guided. "Then second right. That will place you directly beneath the central area of hydroponics." Jack followed the directions, sweat dripping from his face. The tunnels were hot and cramped. For most species, this would be unbearable, but Jack's earthborn physiology could handle it. "Zev, beginning distraction now," came Lyra's update. In the command sector, Zev activated the equipment he had brought. Alarms blared, systems flickered. It looked like a serious malfunction that would require attention. "Vraxian soldiers responding," Lyra reported. 2 squads moving to command. The Nexus Prime is... Wait, it's continuing on its patrol route. It's not diverted." "That's fine," Jack said. "As long as it follows its route to hydroponics." Jack reached the position beneath the hydroponics bay. Through small gaps in the floor plates, he could see condensation dripping from pipes above. Crawl had done his job well. The room was like a tropical rainforest. "I'm in position," Jack reported. "How long until the Nexus Prime arrives?" 4 minutes, Lyra answered. "And its cooling cycle should begin approximately 2 minutes after it enters hydroponics." Jack prepared himself, checking that he could move one of the floor plates to emerge when needed. The metal debris was secured to his belt. "Jack," Lyra said suddenly, "there's something you should know. The Nexus Prime's sensors might be affected by the humidity, but it will adapt quickly. You'll only have seconds of advantage." "Sometimes, seconds are all you need," Jack replied. The minutes ticked by slowly. Jack controlled his breathing, staying calm. On Earth, he had been trained for stressful situations. This was just another challenge. "War machine entering hydroponics now," Lyra reported. Through the gaps in the floor, Jack saw massive metal feet step into the room. The war machine moved slowly, its sensors scanning the misty environment. "Its systems are detecting the environmental anomalies," Lyra whispered. "But it's categorizing them as non-threatening." Jack waited, watching the machine's movements. Condensation formed on its metal surface, dripping onto the floor. The humidity was working as planned. "Cooling cycle beginning in 30 seconds, Lyra announced. Jack got ready to move. The floor plate above him was loose enough to push aside. 20 seconds. 10 seconds. The war machine stopped directly above Jack's position. "Perfect. Cooling vents opening now," Lyra said urgently. Jack pushed the floor plate aside and grabbed onto a pipe. Using his earthborn strength, he pulled himself up and out of the tunnel. The war machine's attention was directed elsewhere, its sensors struggling in the humid environment. With quick, silent movements, Jack climbed onto a large pipe running along the ceiling. From there, he could see the war machine's back, where cooling vents had opened. Steam poured out as the machine attempted to regulate its temperature. In the control room, the aliens watched through security cameras. Their eyes widened in disbelief. "What is he doing?" Zrel asked. "He's above the machine." "Impossible," Neri whispered. "No one could move that quickly in these conditions." Lyra stared at the screen. "He's going to drop onto the war machine from above." Jack balanced on the pipe, muscles tense. The war machine hadn't detected him yet. Its sensors were calibrated for threats coming from ground level, not from above. He took a deep breath and jumped. Image description for Leonardo AI. In a misty, tropical-like hydroponics bay filled with condensation and steam, a human man is captured mid-leap as Jack landed hard on the back of the Nexus Prime. His fingers gripped the edges of the open cooling vents. The war machine immediately detected the impact and began to move violently, trying to shake him off. "He's on it!" Lyra gasped as she watched the screens. "I can't believe he made it." In the hydroponics bay, Jack held on with all his strength. His muscles, developed on Earth's higher gravity, allowed him to maintain his grip despite the machine's wild movements. He knew he had only seconds before the cooling vents would close. Working quickly, Jack pulled the metal debris from his belt. He jammed the first piece into one of the vents, blocking it from closing. The war machine shuddered and spun, trying to dislodge the human. "Warning!" Lyra's voice came through his communicator. "The machine is activating countermeasures." Small panels opened on the war machine's shoulders. Defense systems designed to repel boarders emerged. Jack rolled to one side, barely avoiding a spray of electric current. "Jack, you have 10 seconds. "Before the vents try to close," Lyra warned. Jack continued his work, shoving more debris into the cooling vents. His hands moved with precision despite the machine's attempts to throw him off. Sweat poured down his face in the hot, humid environment, but he didn't slow down. In the control room, the aliens watched in amazement. His body is withstanding temperatures that would burn most species, Neri observed. The machine's surface must be extremely hot near those vents. Zrel shook his head in disbelief. The legends of Deathworlders didn't do humans justice. On the war machine, Jack finished blocking the main cooling vents. As they tried to close, the metal debris prevented them from sealing. The machine shuddered violently as its internal temperature began to rise. "It's working," Lyra reported excitedly. "The machine's core temperature is climbing rapidly." Jack wasn't finished. He moved across the war machine's back with remarkable agility. Using the techniques he had learned from Earth's various combat disciplines, he targeted the machine's external sensor array. The sensors are on the upper back, Lyra guided him. 3 panel sections that look like scales. Jack found them and began to pry at the edges with a piece of metal. The war machine spun wildly, crashing into plants and equipment as it tried to shake him off. The Vraxian commanders are increasing the machine's power output, Lyra warned. They're trying to give it more strength to remove you. Jack smiled grimly. That will only make it overheat faster. He continued to damage the sensor array, ripping away protective coverings and exposing delicate components to the humid air. With each piece he removed, the war machine's movements became less coordinated. Its targeting systems are failing, Lyra confirmed. It can't see properly anymore. The Vraxian commanders, watching remotely, realized their mistake too late. By increasing the power to the war machine, they had accelerated the overheating problem. The machine's internal temperature was now approaching critical levels. Jack felt the metal beneath him growing hotter. Even with his Earth-adapted physiology, he couldn't stay on much longer. Jack, you need to get off now, Lyra urged. The machine is about to reach catastrophic failure. Not yet, Jack replied. He had spotted something on the machine's neck area, a small access panel that Lyra had mentioned earlier. There's a better way to end this. With one powerful leap, Jack moved to the machine's shoulder. The war machine tried to grab him with its massive arms, but its movements were slow and uncoordinated now. Jack easily avoided its grasp. What is he doing? Z'Rell asked as the aliens watched. I don't know, Lyra answered, her voice filled with worry. The machine could explode at any moment. Jack reached the access panel. Using a sharp piece of metal, he pried it open, exposing the machine's central processor. He studied it quickly, remembering what Lyra had told him about Vraxian technology. Lyra, he called through the communicator. I can see the main processor. Which circuit controls the power distribution? The red and silver connection, Lyra replied immediately. But Jack, what are you planning? Jack didn't answer. Instead, he carefully reached into the access panel, ignoring the heat that burned his fingers. With precise movements, he rerouted several connections. 20 seconds until critical failure, Lyra warned. Jack finished his work and pushed away from the machine, dropping to the floor and rolling to absorb the impact. The war machine froze in place. Its lights flickered, then dimmed. Instead of exploding, it slowly powered down, systems shutting off one by one until it stood motionless in the center of the hydroponics bay. Image description for Leonardo AI. A determined human man clings to the back of a massive war machine in a steam-filled hydroponics bay. The machine's cooling vents are visibly jammed with metal debris, and streams of heat rise from its surface. The man, clothes singed and skin glistening with sweat, has one hand inside an open access panel on the machine's neck, while his other hand grips a shoulder plate for stability. His face shows intense concentration and pain as he works with exposed circuitry that glows red-hot. The war machine's metal body is beginning to glow with dangerous heat levels, and its sensor arrays are partially damaged. Scattered around the room are toppled plants and broken equipment from the machine's attempts to dislodge the human. Emergency lighting cuts through the thick steam, creating dramatic shadows and highlighting the contrast between the massive machine and the comparatively small but remarkably effective human. Silence filled the hydroponics bay. The mighty Nexus Prime stood frozen, its systems powered down instead of exploded. Jack sat on the floor, breathing heavily. His hands burned from the heat of the machine. Jack? Are you okay? Lyra's worried voice came through his communicator. I'm fine, Jack replied. The machine is disabled, not destroyed. The control room erupted in cheers. The aliens could hardly believe what they had just witnessed. A human, using no weapons at all, had defeated the most advanced war machine in the galaxy. The main communications array. Lyra suddenly remembered. With the Nexus Prime offline, the jamming signal is gone. We can send a message to Earth. Do it now, Jack said, slowly standing up. Warn them about the Vraxian attack force. Neri's fingers moved quickly over the console. sending emergency signal to both human and Concord forces. Jack limped out of the hydroponics bay. His body ached from the battle, but Earth's higher gravity had prepared him for this kind of strain. He made his way back to the control room, where his alien friends waited. When he entered, they all stared at him with new eyes. No longer did they see a dangerous Deathworlder. Now they saw a hero. "The footage of what you did is spreading throughout the station," Zrel said. "Everyone is watching it." On the screens, Jack could see Vraxian soldiers retreating to their ships. Without their prized war machine and with both human and Concord reinforcements on the way, they had decided to withdraw. "They're leaving," Krall announced. "They know they've lost their advantage." Jack smiled. "Good. Now we just need to wait for help to arrive." 3 hours later, a mixed fleet of human and Concord ships surrounded Horizon 9. Rescue teams boarded the station, securing areas and helping survivors. The Vraxian attack force had fully retreated. In the main docking bay, a group of Concord officials gathered around Jack and his alien team. They had watched the recordings of how the lone human had defeated the Nexus Prime. "Impossible," one official said. "No species has ever disabled a Nexus-class war machine without weapons." "Humans are full of surprises," Jack replied simply. Tall Concord diplomat stepped forward. "We made a grave error in our assessment of humans. We called you dangerous primitives because your planet is harsh. We didn't understand that this harshness created valuable strength." The diplomat turned to address the growing crowd. "Today, we have all learned an important lesson. What we feared about humans, their Deathworld origins, is actually what makes them exceptional allies." Jack looked at Lyra, Zev, Krall, Neri, and Zrel. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us working together. My Earth abilities combined with your knowledge made this victory possible." Lyra stepped closer to Jack. "Before today, I was afraid of humans. The story said Deathworlders were violent and dangerous. Some stories tell only part of the truth," Jack said. "Earth is tough, which makes us tough, but it also teaches us to protect those who need help. That's the part the stories missed." 1 week later, a new diplomatic accord was signed aboard Horizon 9. Jack, now appointed as the lead human representative, stood proudly as humans were officially welcomed into the Galactic Concord. In recognition of Earth's unique contributions, the Concord Supreme stated, "Humans will lead a new joint defense initiative. Their natural abilities combined with our technology will create unprecedented security for all our worlds." After the ceremony, Jack found his alien friends waiting for him. "What will you do now?" Zrel asked. "I'll help build understanding between our species," Jack replied. "There's still a lot we can learn from each other." "The story of how you defeated the war machine has spread to every corner of the galaxy," Neri told him. "They're calling it the Deathworlder's miracle." Jack laughed. "Maybe we need a new term. Deathworlder sounds so negative. We're just adaptable." "Whatever we call you," Lyra said, "the galaxy will never look at humans the same way again." As they looked out through the station's windows at the stars beyond, Jack thought about Earth. His harsh, beautiful